Could Samsung finally be breaking away from routine and giving us a flagship that genuinely feels new? According to a fresh leak from tipster Fixed Focus Digital, the Galaxy S26 Ultra might ditch Samsung's own 200-megapixel sensor in favor of a larger 1.1-inch to 100-megapixel sensor developed by Sony. That might sound like just another spec bump, but this could be a game changer. The Galaxy S25 Ultra used a 1.3-inch sensor, respectable, but nothing revolutionary. If Samsung is seriously considering a switch to a Sony sensor that's almost 1 inch in size, then we're talking about better light sensitivity, more detail in low-light photos, and more dynamic depth in general. It's a move that could push Samsung closer to imaging-focused competitors like Xiaomi and Oppo, both of whom are already using 1-inch sensors to produce stunning photo results. But why would Samsung ditch its own hardware? That's the interesting part. Historically, Samsung has stayed loyal to its ISOCELL sensors, and Sony hasn't even officially released a 200-megapixel smartphone sensor yet. But if this rumor is true, it suggests that Sony might finally be entering the high-resolution space, and Samsung is ready to experiment. Some might see that as a gamble, but it could actually be a smart pivot. Fans were vocal about the Galaxy S25 Ultra feeling stale, with camera upgrades that looked good on paper but didn't impress in real-world use. By embracing a Sony sensor, Samsung might be trying to recapture attention and finally bring something new to the Ultra lineup beyond software tweaks and minor hardware bumps. While this leak doesn't mention upgrades to the ultra-wide or zoom lenses, a better main sensor is a great starting point. A larger sensor usually means bigger pixels or better pixel binning, which means more light, better colors, and more accurate photos, especially in difficult lighting. If Samsung also tunes the image processing and combines it with its AI features, we could finally see the Ultra live up to its name. But we're still months away from the Galaxy S26 Ultra's launch, so this could all still change. After all, Samsung has a history of testing multiple prototypes before finalizing the specs. And considering Sony hasn't officially announced this 200MP sensor yet, it's entirely possible that this is just one of the experimental builds. That said, if the tipster is right and Samsung is seriously considering this switch, then the next Ultra could surprise us in the best way possible. For fans who were underwhelmed with the S25 Ultra or felt like it was just a slightly refined version of the S24, this would be the kind of bold move that restores excitement. Plus, if Sony joins the 200MP party, it could bring new competition into the high-megapixel market and shake things up across the board. So while we wait for more confirmation, it's fun to imagine a Galaxy S26 Ultra that doesn't just rely on numbers, but actually brings a visible difference in photo quality. Maybe this is Samsung's way of bouncing back, not by adding more cameras or gimmicks, but by getting the core experience right. Either way, camera lovers should keep their eyes on this one, because the next Ultra might finally bring the kind of innovation we've all been hoping for. Let's just hope Samsung doesn't play it safe again. Is Apple already too late to lead the foldable phone market? That's a question many are starting to ask as new leaks reveal Apple's first foldable iPhone might not launch until the end of 2026. Meanwhile, Samsung will likely be unveiling its 8th generation foldable by then, the Galaxy Z Fold 8. And based on early reports, Samsung might still keep the upper hand in a few important ways. Let's break this down in simple terms. Even though Apple is finally getting into foldables, Samsung's experience and current hardware could give it a clear lead in 3 key areas: screen size, camera setup, and daily comfort when using the phone. First, let's talk about size, and no, not the size of the phone in your pocket, but the screen you get once you open it. Samsung has been pushing large foldable displays for years. Their upcoming Galaxy Z Fold 7 is already rumored to feature an 8-inch inner display that's pretty big for a foldable. Apple's first foldable iPhone, on the other hand, might only offer a 7.58-inch foldable screen. Some reports mention a possible 7.8-inch size, but even then, Samsung's device would still be slightly ahead for users who want to browse, stream, or multitask. Every inch counts and Samsung might just offer more of it. Now, let's move on to the cameras. The leaks suggest Apple will go with 2 rear cameras, each with 48 megapixel resolution. That sounds fine, but there's a catch: no mention of a telephoto lens. That means limited zoom capability without losing image quality. Samsung, however, is going all out. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 is expected to keep its powerful setup: a 200 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto camera. By the time we see the Fold 8, Samsung could even upgrade the ultra-wide or telephoto cameras to 50 megapixels. That kind of setup gives users more options, whether it's wide shots, zoomed-in images, or super sharp detail. But there's one more thing that might matter even more in daily life: how the phone feels in your hand. Apple's design is rumored to be inspired by the iPad mini, which could mean a wider phone when it's folded shut. That might look cool on paper, but could make one-handed use a challenge. Samsung, meanwhile, has stuck with a narrow and tall design using a 21:9 aspect ratio. This makes the fold phones easier to use when closed, whether you're texting, scrolling, or just holding the phone with one hand while multitasking. And when opened, you still get that big screen experience. Sure, Apple is known for doing things its own way. Its foldable iPhone could bring some smart software tricks, a premium titanium body, and a strong hinge using composite materials. But Samsung's head start can't be ignored. With years of trial, feedback, and updates behind it, Samsung might use the Fold 8 to not just match Apple but stay ahead. Also, we can expect Samsung to go all in next year, knowing they're about to face Apple in the foldable market for the first time. They'll likely bring bigger upgrades and extra polish to the Fold 8 to make sure it shines. So, even though Apple is finally joining the foldable party, Samsung may still be the one setting the standard. Bigger screens, more flexible cameras, and a design that actually makes sense in your hand. That's what the Galaxy Z Fold 8 could offer. Now the question is, will Apple change the game when it arrives, or will Samsung stay ahead by keeping things simple but effective? What's your take? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button if this gives you something to think about, and make sure to subscribe so you're always updated with what's coming next in the world of tech.
Could the next Galaxy phone feel like a downgrade for European users? That's the question many are asking after recent leaks suggest Samsung might bring back a decision that frustrated a lot of people in the past, using different processors for different regions. If this turns out to be